The biggest thing about this show actually had nothing to do with Hawkeye. What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to WeSibs, West Coast, East Coast siblings, where we break down your favorite movies and TV shows. And yes, today we are talking the season finale of Disney Marvel's Hawkeye series. We're going to talk about the three biggest takeaways, and of course, I'm going to give you my thoughts on the show overall and its future. So before we get started, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button and click the bell so you don't miss, and let's dive right into it. Starting off with big takeaway number one, and this is picking up right where we left off in the last episode with the discovery that Eleanor Bishop, aka Kate Bishop's mom, was working with and for Kingpin this whole time. Now, it's later explained that Eleanor was kind of forced into this because when her husband died, she found out that he owed money to Kingpin, and so she ended up being a great asset to Kingpin, and she wants out. At this time in the episode, she says now that her daughter is involved and she's gotten too close, this is where she draws the line, and she's kept kind of a contingency, kind of an insurance policy, by keeping all the documents and crazy things and nefarious happenings that have gone on and keeping them recorded and keeping them in a safe place so that if anything were to happen to her or Kate Bishop or any threats were made, those documents would be released, incriminating Kingpin Wilson Fisk himself. So this was a huge reveal at the end of the last episode, and I was hoping that we would get to see more of Kingpin's master plan and what he's been up to since the last season of Daredevil as now, but obviously this is something that could potentially have a lot to do with Spider-Man. As we know, Spider-Man in the comics was a big contender, a big foe for Kingpin. From there, I want to move on to big takeaway number two, which is Yelena deciding not to kill Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye. By the way, let me digress for a minute. I kind of like the banter between Kate Bishop and Yelena when they were kind of fighting while Yelena was trying to go and kill Clint. I thought that to be one of the redeeming qualities of Kate Bishop, and we're going to get to my thoughts on her. But anyway, Clint reveals to Yelena that it was Black Widow who ended up sacrificing herself for the Soul Stone, and while Hawkeye tried to stop her, he wasn't good enough, and Black Widow ends up destroying or killing herself in order to save the universe. And Yelena, while she has a hard time accepting that, she realizes, yeah, that does line up with her character and how she was as a person, and so she kind of walks away sad. But at least this means that she's now friends kind of with Hawkeye, and this opens up the possibility of her making a return later on, potentially in some sort of Avengers related to Dark Avengers, something like that. Now, before we talk about the future of Kate Bishop and even the Hawkeye show, Season 2, anyone, let's talk about big takeaway number 3, which is, did Kingpin just die? Like I said at the beginning of this video, the biggest happening in this entire show kind of has nothing to do with Hawkeye. Wilson Fisk, after getting into an altercation with Kate Bishop, is later walking away battered and bruised, and he meets none other than Maya. Now, let's talk about her for a second. She's had a rough go of it this entire season, finding out ultimately that her own father and all the things going on, there was a lot of mistrust and animosity between them, and so now she's betraying Wilson Fisk and going after all of his people, finding out that a lot of her life was a lie. So she just happens to meet Wilson Fisk stumbling around a dark alleyway. She comes out with a pistol and apparently kills Wilson Fisk. At least that's how they would have you believe it. We heard the gun go off, we saw a muzzle flash, and we heard a body drop to the ground. But you see, I don't think that was Kingpin. I think Maya died. She's a much less significant character. They kind of needed to tie up her story anyway. She served her purpose for the Hawkeye show, just being kind of running an underground criminal organization that had bad tie-ins with Ronin. But ultimately, she wasn't that important. Now, Kingpin is one of the most important Marvel villains ever, you could argue. One of Spider-Man's big foes, and even has a tie-in to Daredevil. So I really doubt that Feige and the guys over at Marvel and gals over at Marvel would want to kill Kingpin. So what I think actually happened, I think he moved the bullet, ended up killing Maya, and she is no more, but not the Kingpin. Now, from there, obviously, I want to talk about Kate Bishop, my thoughts for the show overall, and where it could be going for a potential Season 2. So, Kate Bishop, unfortunately, was not a character who grew on me. I said very early on I was having a tough time liking her character because she was so arrogant with not a lot to back it up. The best that she was a good archer. She had no experience saving the world or going on covert missions or doing gathering intel and all those kind of things. But every step of the way, she was combative with Hawkeye, even though she claimed that he was her idol and her favorite Avenger. She saw a man go and fight aliens with a stick and a string, and that was really inspiring for her. But every step of the way, she had something to say, some backtalk, and she would openly defy the orders of an Avenger. So I don't think that's somebody who's really a good fit for a team, let alone type new Avengers thing. And unfortunately, well, they did have like a moment, kind of a heart-to-heart, where Hawkeye says, you know, you are my partner and stuff like that. It doesn't erase her character. It doesn't erase her MO. And I don't think that that's one that works well with the Avengers. If we've looked at them, yeah, they can all do their own thing. They can all think for themselves. But when they come together and assemble, they're kind of a team. And when Captain America gives an order or Iron Man gives an order, people just do it, and that's part of how a team works, and I don't think that she's really a team player. I think she's going to obviously be part of the new Avengers, but I don't think she'll be in any kind of leadership role. Just because of the way that she acts, and unfortunately, I don't think she'll be much better in a subordinate role too, because she just is openly defiant. So who knows how that's going to go? But I want to talk about the future of the Hawkeye series and a potential season 2. So unfortunately, they don't really set up anything for a season 2, and I say this because the Kingpin thing would have been maybe a potential spoiler for a season 2 or a teaser for season 2. Obviously, Kingpin is a big Spider-Man villain, and also a Daredevil villain. So he's not really going to be somebody we would expect to see as a big bad in the next episode of Hawkeye or the next season of Hawkeye. Rather, this was just a way to introduce him so that he can go play in New York with Daredevil and Spider-Man. So other than that, we saw Hawkeye return to his family, right? Brought Kate Bishop home for Christmas, and, you know, they got to bond, I guess, a little bit. But I don't think there's going to be a season 2. And it's not because the show wasn't okay. I said because the show wasn't, not because the show wasn't okay, but it was just that. It was just okay. And I think Marvel has bigger plans and they want to do other things. They kind of want to move on. Hawkeye, people are already arguing that Hawkeye didn't even deserve a series. So when you look at the performance of this show and the storyline and how little impact it has on the MCU the larger MCU, I don't think there's a reason for a season 2. This gives us a nice little background on Hawkeye, helped him kind of close some storylines with who he was as Ronin, set him up with the new suit, so next time we do see him, he will be full-fledged Hawkeye like we know in the comics, kind of fully maturing his character. And I think we'd be more likely to see Kate Bishop take on the leading role in a season 2 if that were to manifest. But I don't think that's going to happen because I don't think she'd be able to carry the show on her own. Now, with that being said, guys, those were my thoughts on Hawkeye Season 1, the finale, and the show overall. Am I crazy? I mean, you guys let me know down in the comments below. Do you agree with some of my thoughts? Let me know. Hit the like button if you liked the video. As always, subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss, guys. We're going to wrap up Witcher this week, and also Matrix came out today. So we'll also be looking to get that out in the next day or two. Also, guys, Christmas is coming up, so there's a whole lot of content. You're going to want to get subscribed. It's going to be there for you. So thanks, guys, so much for watching. As always, as we cover your favorite movies and TV shows, West Coast, East Coast siblings, I'll see you in the next one. Peace!